last meeting of March. I'll open the meeting to the public at this time. Anyone from the public may address the board on any topic. If not, you can do it also at the end of the meeting. There'll be a chance. Anyone? No? Okay, minutes of previous meeting on March 2nd. Board know any errors or omissions?
Motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, bills, our son, any additions?
No additions, well, there's a supplemental list, everybody should have a copy of that.
Okay,
You got it right here?
yeah, no, I got that, Something else here.
You got a question about Bernine's bill?
Well, I was gonna mention it.
Okay.
Okay, any comments on the bills from the board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills. I would like Bill 01058 held, it can be approved, but needs to be held by the accounting office. Second? Have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, okay, resolution 2020-11, this is a delegate resolution for the MEUA Utilities Conference on April 22nd and 23rd. Let's see. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Village Rouses Point is a municipal member of the MEUA, whereas the semi-annual conference is at MEUA of New York State has been called for April 22nd, 23rd. Whereas in accordance with the bylaws of the MEUA of New York State, each municipal member may cast one vote on each transaction properly brought before this meeting. Now be it therefore resolved that Jason Juno being is hereby designated as the accredited delegate of Rouses Point. And a roll call vote. I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Arnold.
Aye.
Trustee Dart.
Aye.
Trustee Menard.
Aye.
Trustee Gadway.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. We have a reminder that the village elections will be Wednesday this year from noon until 9 p.m. in this room. So far they're good to go. Just received word about a half an hour ago that they got their first case of the thing in Curtin County, yeah, first one, so, anyway. I have a resolution for, I have a couple here, but 2020-12. This is the final one to close out the railroad station capital fund. I'll read that one. Whereas the Board of Trustees has determined that the village no longer needs the Clinton and Essex County, Essex Priority Projects Capital Project Fund because the project is completed and all funding has been received and expenses paid, and whereas the treasurer has submitted a complete accounting of the project's revenues and expenses showing a balance of $107,993.30 to the fund, be it therefore resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby declare the project complete and authorizes the treasurer to close the Clinton and Essex Priority Projects Capital Project Fund and transfer the remaining balance to the general fund. And I'll move that to the floor. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Arnold.
Aye.
Trustee Dart.
Aye.
Trustee Menard.
Aye.
Trustee Gadway.
Aye.
Now, in furtherance of this, we have another resolution, 20-13, And I talked this over with the treasurer, and we thought it would be a good idea to establish a reserve fund for future unexpected maintenance issues that may come up at the train station, and dedicate $50,000 of that 107,000 or almost 108,000 in that. So we're not spending it, but instead of just putting it all in a surplus, we dedicate some of it so it's in there. So if something big goes wrong in there, you've got something to go on, something unexpected like a furnace or half the roof blows off or something like that.
Good or bad?
So, is it
Yeah,
discussion on this?
Good or bad?
Yeah, because it's gonna happen, I mean,
Well, anything you have, you're planning to keep it permanently. It's not like you're
Yeah.
just buying something and keeping it for
well, the
55
bricks
years.
are all falling apart again, stuff like that, 4 or 5 places on that building,
Yeah.
so.
Presumably it wouldn't be for routine maintenance of little things, but if you had something, say the furnace blew up or something, or, I
Well,
don't
the
know.
fan up there hasn't shut off since it's been open, so eventually that's gonna wear out.
So, I mean, they may-
24/7.
They need to turn it off. What they need, eventually
You
they
can't
may,
turn it off, it's on that heat pump.
yeah, but eventually you may switch over the whole heat system. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we should do
Maybe
that,
switch it over to some other kind
but electric
of
heating,
more realistic
which I
system.
tried to talk them into that, when they were doing that, and they wouldn't do it.
I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, that building is, anyways, but
Run
anyways, this will,
thermostats on the wall and stuff, and you
Exactly.
could run it with electric heat,
Right.
that baseboard heat. You could
They
put it in
could-
the cellar heater. We should probably take a look at that and see if the electric crew would probably do that.
oh, I'm sure they could. It's something to look into, that's for sure. Anyways, so this resolution is establishing that, whereas the Village of Rouse's Point does hereby establish a repair reserve fund to help finance repairs to the Rouse's Point History and Welcome Center building pursuant to section 6D, the general municipal laws amended, to be known as the RP History and Welcome Center Building Repair Reserve Fund. Whereas the treasurer is hereby directed to deposit and secure monies in this reserve fund in the manner provided by section 10 of the general municipal law. The treasurer may invest monies in the reserve fund in the manner provided by section 11 and consistent with village's investment policy. Any interest earned or capital gains realized on the monies so deposited or invested shall accrue and become part of the reserve fund. So if we put 50,000 in there and it earns $3,000 or $4,000 in interest, it stays in that fund, just like all our other reserve funds.
Why wouldn't we put just the whole amount in there we've got left?
Well, because I don't know if we need it for that, and there may be other things in the village that we wanna do it. Once we put it in this reserve fund, you can't take it out for other
Yeah.
things. You can always add to it later, you can look it over next year, transfer it out of the thing if you want to and add to it. But we don't even have any projects, thought of for it.
All right.
Okay. The treasurer shall account for the reserve fund in a manner which maintains the separate identity of the reserve fund and shows the date and amount of each sum paid in the fund, interest earned on the fund, capital gains or losses resulting from the sale of investments of the fund, the amount and date of each withdrawal from the fund, and the total assets of the fund. Except as otherwise provided by law, expenditures from the reserve fund shall remain only for the purpose for which the reserve fund is established. No expenditures shall be made from this reserve fund without village board resolution appropriating monies from the reserve fund, and such additional actions or proceedings as may be required by section 6D of the general municipal law. Now there be it resolved that the treasurer is hereby directed to transfer $50,000 to the reserve fund from the closeout balance of the Clinton and Essex Waterfront Priority Projects Capital Projects Fund that was transferred to the general fund. I move that to the floor for a second.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, trustee Arnold.
Aye.
Trustee Dart.
Aye.
Trustee Menard.
Aye.
Trustee Gadway.
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. And, that is all that I have at this time. Trustee Arnold?
All right, first thing I got is, I talked to Adam about, work this summer, and he's starting already on Academy Street, cutting the streets and stuff, cutting the edge by the,
Mhm.
so he can put his curbing in and stuff like that, so that's being done, and he figures by the 1st of April, or the first week of April, he might be picking up sand, start picking up sand and stuff.
Provided we don't get a blizzard or something,
Right,
yeah.
So,
Has
and
he
then,
got any bids on, or any quotes on the curbing?
not that I know of.
I asked him,
That.
what I asked him to do was see if he could get a price on having a company come in and put the curbing in with one of those curbing machines.
Mhm.
And I figured that would, you know, board still gotta approve the price, but we can put it in the budget if he gets it here in time, but run out of time. I figured that would save him, that might make the project doable for this summer, time-wise, because they would still remove the old curb, set up the gravel underneath it and do it, and then some company comes in and they just pour that all in one, they don't use curb forms for that. And we'd probably do it in, what, a couple days maybe, or so, I don't know how fast they can do
Probably.
it, but it wouldn't, say a week. And so if you could get a reasonable cost on that,
Mhm.
that would free up the public works crew, probably gain them a month at least, that they could do other
Probably.
stuff in the village. So
Mhm.
I asked him to do that, but they hadn't got back to him yet as of last week,
Oh, okay.
so.
Yeah. And also, I'd like to know if we could have Donna taking call on this, compensation alliance for the blood-borne pathogens and right to know and all that stuff. This is for Tuesday, April 21st. I wonder if that's gonna be canceled.
We're
Oh.
working on that, we sent an email out today, just waiting to hear,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
we've
everybody will
canceled,
find out, yeah.
we should know tomorrow, I would think, or the next day. Any other training that was scheduled has been canceled,
Yeah.
so we'll just wait, yeah.
Okay. And also today I talked to Susan, and she says she's gonna keep the library open, which I don't think it's a good idea myself, but I'm not the librarian or whatever.
Well, most places that are closing are, like, a couple events that I know of, they declared like anything over 250 people, they close them, different shows and stuff like that. Then they're looking at other things where there's, you know, confined spaces with a lot of people. The library typically doesn't have more than a few people in it at any one time, and
Yeah, the
they're
thing
separated by
is-
6 feet.
The
is
thing
what
of it
the
is,
thing
you gotta take, if people handling books and stuff like that, you gotta wipe the books down or whatever, or what are you gonna do?
No,
Right?
I've been wiping books today.
Yeah?
I think that, you know, such time, the library will close the library when, if things get worse and they think it's necessary,
Yeah.
they will.
Okay. Well, anyhow, so that's that there. And also, we have any plans what we're gonna do if people can't pay their light bills or something, or whatever? If they lose their job or close down for a month or so or whatever? Do you think of anything about that?
Well, I think we can, I don't think we need to make a decision about that right now, but the obvious thing would be just if it gets to that, we could waive the late fees on it. You know, if somebody couldn't pay it this month and they pay it next month, but we haven't had any requests for any of that yet, so
I know, but
I
I
don't
mean,
wanna start advertising that we're gonna start doing that.
well, no,
Start
but I
getting
mean,
people-
we gotta be prepared for it or something. I mean, somebody, if this goes on for 3 months or something, you don't know.
No, but we can do that, I'm saying we can do that at any board meeting, every 2 weeks you can
Yeah.
make that decision, so I mean,
Yeah.
there's no necessary to do it right this minute.
Okay.
But I agree with what you're saying, it's a
Yeah,
concern,
definitely
it's a
gonna work.
legitimate concern,
Right,
but
yeah.
I just think the timing, we don't need to do it right this minute.
And also, I got a letter here stating it's from the Northeast Clinton County School, from Rob Guerin. Why are we paying, letting them pay for the,
Why didn't he send that to me? I sent him the letter. Is that for the crossing guards?
yeah, for a crossing guard? Why did we do that?
Why did you send a letter without letting us know what was
Yeah.
going on? Why did
Because
you
it's-
request a meeting with them, or a meeting with us?
Because it's provided for that they changed the law that prohibited them from paying that to paying it now.
They changed that law 3 years ago. Why
Right.
are we bringing it up now?
I just found out about it this summer.
Well,
You
you
think
should have
you-
and sent them a
You
letter.
You should have let us know that you were sending this letter out.
Yeah. Or at least have a meeting with them and tell them that you were gonna do it. Their budget is already made.
So they can put it in for their next year's budget or consider it then. I don't think sending a letter from the village to the school is any big deal.
No, I agree, it's not a big deal. but you sent the letter.
That's
And
right.
you didn't let any of us know about it.
Well, it wasn't a secret, but,
No, it wasn't a secret, but it says, we will continue the management. And it looks like you told everybody about this, and you told nobody about it. You didn't tell us about it, you didn't tell,
do you
the
think it's
superintendent?
controversial, Dale? Do you think
I
it's
think
anything
it
at all
is.
controversial?
Yes, I think it is, because
Why?
you sent it out and you didn't tell any of us about it.
Well,
So you made a decision without the board.
oh, I'd make that decision 100 times.
Yeah,
the
okay,
only
then
thing
don't
I-
put our name on
I
it.
didn't put your name on it.
You
Send
put
it
we,
there.
and our trustees' names are on this letterhead. So that's we, in my opinion, that's we. If you wanna send a letter to you, you put Mayor Tom Baffin. If
That's
you're
how I
not gonna include us in the
That's how I
decision,
signed it.
if you don't wanna include us in the decision, don't put our names on it. Don't put it on the Ross Point letterhead.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'll agree, I'll agree that I slipped up and didn't give copies of that to you guys. I don't mind doing that. Do you
should have
think, do
brought
you
it
think
to
that
us.
there's anything at all that would have prevented you from requesting that from the school district?
Yes. We,
Well, then you have
we've
a
done,
conflict of interest because you
we-
work for them.
no, we've done this for how long, Tom? How many years has this been going on?
It's only been legal for them to pay it for the
How
last
long has
two.
this been going on that we paid the crossing
For
guard?
years and years and years.
And now all of a sudden, you wanna,
They changed the law that they can pay.
they changed it 3 years ago.
We didn't know about it 3 years ago, or I would have done it then. I wasn't the mayor 3 years ago. I just found out about this provision. They changed it in 2017.
Yes, I agree.
And I found out about it this summer, or fall, I don't know when it came to my attention. And I said, I think that we should reach out and ask the people.
Who'd you say that to? You must have said it in your head because you didn't say it to
Yeah, I
us.
did.
So
I
why
did.
didn't you bring it to us?
Didn't think of it. I just thought it was such a no-brainer, Dale, that anybody
No,
would
it's not.
understand.
No,
and
it's
trying to
not a
get money-
no-brainer.
Trying to get
You've
money
done
for
this
the-
right along,
No, I
Tom. You
haven't.
don't include us. You don't include us in any of your decisions.
That's not true. Dale, let me ask you something.
You've done, so
Let me
you've
ask you
done,
something.
how many times you don't include us? How many times
Let
have
me-
we
let-
talked to you
let me ask
about
you-
just include us in your decisions?
Let me ask you something, Dale. In the 2 years I've been mayor, how many times have you called me up at home on a village topic?
Probably none.
None.
You're right.
None.
Right.
How much stuff do you do between village meetings on behalf of the village?
I do quite a bit.
I don't know of it, and it doesn't reflect on the agendas.
No.
It certainly doesn't reflect there.
Tom, all we're asking is that you include us in this, but I guess it doesn't matter,
It
because
doesn't
you're only
matter.
in a few, you're only in here for a few more weeks, so.
This is my last meeting, well, other than the other meeting tomorrow, that's fine.
You're right.
I'm
It is
looking
fine.
out for the village, Dale.
Yes.
I'm looking out for money for the village.
I
I'm a
agree,
budget
Tom.
officer.
But you're also doing it under the table instead of letting us
Under
know.
the table.
I don't know what you call it then. You're sending a letter out,
Requesting them to consider
no,
funding
you're not
Okay.
requesting anything. You're telling them that they need to pay this.
read it.
I will read it.
Read it out loud.
Dear Mr. Guerin and Board of Education, as you are aware, recent changes in New York State General Municipal Law addresses funding for school crossing guards. The law, which formerly prohibited this funding, now allows the school district to pay the cost of the school crossing guards. The Village of Rouses Point has been funding this valuable service for our school children for years. The cost has been averaging slightly over $10,000 a year. Additionally, we have been managing and scheduling training, certification, and payroll deductions. We will continue to manage this service, but we request that the school district fund the direct cost of the crossing guards at a minimum of $10,000. That's
Okay, so
not
you're
asking,
saying-
that's telling them that they need to put it in their budget.
It's a request. It said, did it say request?
Yeah, you've got one word
Did I
request.
say
in it.
request? The only thing I said wrong in that whole letter that I would change is I would say I instead of we. One word.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, why wouldn't you think that they should pay for that?
Why wouldn't you bring it to us?
Why, no, why would you think?
Why
that-
wouldn't you bring it to us as a
Because I
discussion?
didn't think it was controversial, Dale. I didn't think any common sense person would question a letter like that. I thought that was the most benign letter you could send. It's only for the benefit of the Village of Rouses Point, which is who I represent. I just don't see any controversy in it.
We've been paying this for, what, 50 years?
Right.
We've never had a controversy. You've
Why
had
would-
people come to you on the street and say, how come we're paying the crossing guards? How come the school's not paying the crossing guards?
It kind of
I've never had anybody.
came up there.
Benny, have you had anybody?
Kind of came up this summer, Dale, or this fall when we didn't have any crossing guards. Donna went up and did the crossing guards for
I
a couple
agree,
weeks.
yes.
We don't have a police department overseeing this anymore. They used to take care of it, we didn't see it, we just funded it and that was it. It just went by itself. Well, now it isn't. We don't have a separate department to handle that.
Okay, but you're not asking the school to manage the crossing guards. You're asking them to pay for it.
That's right,
So
because if you read the law.
what you just said doesn't make any sense.
If
You said,
you're-
well, we came on this because we didn't have any
Okay, let
crossing
me ask you
guards.
this, why would you think that they shouldn't pay for it? Why would you think that the
We've
village?
been paying for it right along.
What's that got to do with it? That's irrelevant, that's fiscally irresponsible.
I think it's our residents, I think we should have some sort of, we should be kind of paying for it. I understand that it's in the NCCS school district, but why should people from Moores, Champlain be paying for our crossing guards for our residents?
We pay millions of dollars in school
I
taxes out of this
understand
village.
that, but
And I think
those
that
are
they can.
our kids, that's my only thought on it.
We aren't even required to have crossing guards. Now, if I'd have come up and said, we're
But we have.
canceling the crossing guards, I would say, yeah, you're right, that's out of line. I would say that's a step too far to just unilaterally say, we're not gonna do crossing guards anymore. I didn't say that because I don't believe that. That's safety of children. It comes down to a funding matter of who's paying for this stuff.
So we should have a discussion with them and maybe if we split it, do something.
Exactly.
But I don't think we should just go to them and say, hey, you guys are gonna pay this
You're paying for this.
and not us anymore. That's my only thought on it. Because those
Well,
are
it's just-
our kids that live here in Village Ross's Point, not Champlain or Moores.
Exactly.
I don't know if Moores has any crossing guards, I don't know.
No.
I think that getting kids to school is the school board's responsibility. I don't think it's a village board's responsibility to do things with schools like that. I think they have their separate funding lines, their separate ways of revenue streams to pay for this kind of stuff. They pay for the buses and everything else. And I just think that this is something that should come under them and not under us. And like I say, it was a service we provided for years because, number one, we had to because it's the way the state law was written. But when they opened up the state law for everybody else, or for them to pay for it, so why wouldn't you ask them to pay for it? Their budget's what, 10 times bigger than ours? I don't know.
Agreeable. But we need to sit down and talk to them and ask them as our board and their board, and you don't agree with that.
I probably should have sent you guys a copy of the letter. I should have put I instead of we. I didn't think it was a controversial thing. I thought it was a complete no-brainer is what I thought it was. I just didn't, it just never occurred to me that somebody would question seeking revenues from an outside source for the village taxpayers. It just never occurred to me that that would be controversial. I can't imagine thinking like that. I just can't. I mean, I can see having the crossing guards, I can see the village, doing a payroll form and stuff like that, which is provided for in that law and that letter from the state. So we're still doing a lot of work to do that, but I just, as far as just asking for, we're seeking funds for reimbursement for everything all the time,
I agree.
all the time. And we
I
never
agree.
bring any of it to the board.
But this is, I think we need to sit down with the school board and the superintendent and discuss it. Like Jamie said, maybe half and half, whatever. If they can pay for it all, that's great. But I think we need to sit down and talk with them. Like I said, their budget has already gone through, so they're not gonna pay for it this year.
Nobody's asking, it's a consideration to put it into your budget process.
It doesn't say that anywhere in here, but it just says request $10,000.
Right, when they can fit it in, I knew their budget was already made, but I wanted to get it in. It starts with asking, that's what I'm asking. I requested it, I didn't demand it, I didn't threaten them, I didn't say we're not gonna have no crossing guards if you don't pay for it. It's just a complete no-brainer, and it never occurred to me that anybody would question seeking funds from an outside agency for the village taxpayers. It's never occurred to me. Okay, anything
That's all I
else?
have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, trustee Dart.
Tonight, checking with the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant this week. Things are running smooth and there's no foreseen issues coming up. On the personnel side of things, the search continues for a clerk and administrator. We've had one application so far, and the deadline for the applications is March 27th. Being the March 27th, I think, the new board will, probably be doing the interviewing on these things, which rightfully so they ought to be doing since they're gonna be dealing with this person. It's a good idea for them, take that over. I know there's a few days left after March 27th before we get to April 1st, but I just didn't want to push things.
It's actually April 5th, April 6th, you're still in office.
April 6th.
Found out that, yeah.
I'd rather.
But this is the last meeting, there won't be any meetings before then.
I'd rather have the new board,
Yeah.
deal with it. I think that's just common courtesy. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, trustee Menard.
I'm just gonna make a motion that we send a letter to the Northeastern Clinton Central Superintendent and the Board of Education that we would like to get together to discuss this letter.
You gonna write that letter?
Yep.
All right.
I'll second that.
Let's do roll call vote. Trustee Arno?
Aye.
Trustee Dart?
Aye.
Trustee Menard?
Aye.
Trustee Gadway?
Aye.
The mayor votes no. Okay.
That's all I have,
Anybody
Christine.
else? Trustee Gadway.
Figure skating club, they had their show, not this past weekend, the weekend before. Seemed like they had a good turnout for it. And the ice is coming out, it's supposed to come out next Monday. I talked to Ethan, they're supposed to be shutting down. They said they have one tournament that's this weekend, I don't know if it's happening with all the stuff going on. But after that, they're shutting it down for the season. That's all I have.
Okay, other reports. Mr. Cooper.
Well, just the only thing I have to report is the fact that things are moving along pretty smoothly. I asked the board, I sent a letter to, I didn't send a letter, I brought a letter to the administrator to put for your approval so the village can sign off on the fact that the sewer and the water and the electric is done off to the village's satisfaction. As soon as I receive that, I'm gonna do my last site inspection up there, and then I'm gonna make a certificate of closure up there on the demolition.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for me, just for the fact that, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit amazed, and I know that the weather's warming quickly. I can't believe that I have a few applications already, which we didn't have last year. I think things are probably moving along quite well.
That's good. Ms. Sullivan, you have
Hello.
anything to tell us about?
Yes, I will tell you about the conversations that I had with my board members about what we're doing with the library. We feel that the library is a critical service to the people in Rouses Point. And when you get to the point where you're asking people to change their habits and stay home instead of going out and to be isolated, today was a madhouse with people coming in trying to get books before we close. They're looking for something to do at home. And so I think jumping the gun and closing in a state of fear is not really a very good idea. So discussed it with my board, and we came up with a statement that's been on the village website, it's on Rouses Point Street Talk, it's on BizBuzz, it's on the library Facebook, that services and hours may have to be changed, and that might evolve pretty rapidly depending on what's going on. We've canceled all of the programs. Our intention was to keep the library open for this week, the 13th through the 21st. Have the computers available for tax returns and census forms only, because we're using the first and the last computer to keep people 8 feet apart for the social distancing, and not having a bunch of kids coming in and playing on them, because I am wiping down those computer keyboards and mouses in between every time that it's used. So we want to reserve the computers for the adults doing those taxes, and the census is coming out this week. For our older patrons or anyone that is self-quarantining because of an underlying condition, they can order books online or they can call me in the library and I will deliver their books. I will take them in a bag, knock on the door, leave them at the door, back up 6 to 8 feet. When they come out and take their books, they can put down their return books, and after they close the door, I'll go and pick up those books, take them back to the library. To deal with the books in the library, because of course you can't wash the whole book, there's a lot of different, how long something can live on a hard surface. So the CDC is still saying on a hard surface, you're looking at something like 12 hours. So if we gather our books, we can wipe the surface down, leave them overnight. We're closed for 17, 18 hours every night. That'll give us a little, maybe some of it'll die off. We can put on gloves or whatever to do our shelving, wash our hands. Just be very conscious that we are handling items that could have virus on them. That is now kind of up in the air because we made these decisions based on the fact that there were no cases in Clinton, Essex, or Franklin County. So now that there has been a confirmed case in Clinton County, we might be rediscussing this tomorrow. Until I end up being sick, I'm going to continue to deliver books to people who are homebound. I feel very strongly that they need something, and I think we can handle it, keeping the whole social distance intact so that we're not putting each other at any kind of a risk. We will, stick with the whole hand washing, staying away from people, 6 to 8 feet. We might end up closing the library because of this case in Clinton County. We might end up having people come to the door one at a time, psst, got any books? And I'll slip them a book out the door. We'll talk about it. So with this case in Clinton County, puts it a little bit up in the air. We think that it is our duty to this community to keep the library open for as long as possible, while still keeping in mind that we have to do everything possible to not cause an increase in infections. So 3 this afternoon, I had a very positive plan. Tonight, there's been a case in Clinton County. We're back to the drawing board tomorrow.
Well, in the past, there's been some discussion over the role of the library board, the village board, back and forth. Nothing really dramatic, but this is a classic example of the library board running the library. This has nothing to do with the village board that I can see.
No, it doesn't.
If the library
But just
board
to
wants
let
to,
the village-
they're determined when the library's
Yes.
open, when it's shut, and how it's run.
Yes.
And as long as, it's up to them. It's a separate entity from the village board, and I think you're handling it right, and applaud you for your actions that you're taking.
Thank you. And if you want a book, call me.
I think we should have a serious discussion about this coronavirus. I applaud the library board for getting with the library director and having some kind of plan in place. I know the village administration has no plan in place at all. I mean, the CDC came out today and said that they're recommending no groups of 10 people or less in part of keeping your social distancing. One of the credit unions I do business with, as of tomorrow, is not doing person-to-person business. They're shutting right down, and one of them, it's the one that's right here in the village of Ross's Point. I don't know what the board wants the village administration to do, or if you have any plans or anything, but I think this is a very, very serious business crisis. I know people don't think it is, and that's one of the reasons why the school board was trying to be proactive with all the other school boards and trying to prevent the spread of this, because we knew it was coming, and now it's here, because we heard it on the news tonight. And it's just a matter of time before it's in this village. And the village of Ross's Point needs to have some kind of a plan, because it's not fair to Donna or to myself or to the girls in the office to field all these calls that we've been getting all day in regards to stuff like this. And this has nothing even to do with the election at all. This is just general stuff that should not be put on our shoulders, because we have no direction at all of what to do.
Anything else? Does the board have any comments to this?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. It's, I think even just having the meetings open like we have now, I think we may have to go to a spot where they'll have to watch it on TV like it's being recorded right now. I would
Even the
wholeheartedly agree
city of
that.
Blacksburg, not to interrupt you, Tom, but even the city of Blacksburg, you're only allowed to go to a meeting unless you're invited.
Yeah. I think
That's how serious this has gotten.
Well, I
A lot of
think the
people
girls-
don't, a lot of people don't realize it, but I'm telling you.
The zoning board has canceled their meeting for Monday night.
we need to be very proactive in everything we do, and, you know, even with folks visiting the office downtown, you know, the village office.
Well, I think what they ought to do, Donna's in the room by herself, our son's upstairs. I think the girls in the office that take money and stuff, I think they ought to have a window. Close up that, put that window back in that they used to have
Did,
before.
they took it down.
Well,
It
like I
always
said,
set up nice like that.
yeah, well, I think they ought to take and put it back up for now.
You still have it?
Well, it ain't much to go over to the hardware store and buy a piece of glass and slide it in the thing.
Get some plexiglass to put on there, another
Is the
alternative.
framework still, I can't remember.
Yeah, the framework's still there.
I mean,
If not-
and it may come down to, like Arsen was saying, that the credit union's done, they may not be accepting people to come in and pay. We have a mail
Right.
slot that they can put it in, they can pay online, they can mail it to us.
Yep.
And maybe you just might have to decide as a board that nobody comes into the office. We get phone calls all the time, today was insane with phone calls. And it's the two women in the front office we've talked to, provided them with hand sanitizer and wipes, and they're constantly, washing their hands. And today, the senior typist and myself were dealing with somebody with handicap. And I deal with people that are looking for marriage certificates and birth certificates. We may just have to put a hold on that, but that's a board decision. That's not, like Arsen was saying, that's not for us to decide, but we are the
Well, I
ones,
think we ought to put a sign in the window.
we're fielding that.
Yeah. Put a
But
sign in
that's
the
a
window.
board
I think it'd be definitely a good idea to,
Put
if
your,
it's physically possible, put the glass back in there, because that separates people at the counter from the office. I think that would probably be a big help.
yeah, and also.
I mean, just for a
if you
start,
feel
not
like-
for the,
if
not
you
for
feel
the
like
be
putting
all
your
end
money in
all,
the
but I think
box,
for a start, that's a good way to go.
Or either that or put your money in the box outside there.
Put it in an envelope and put their payments in the box, in the slot.
We could do
But
that.
people also have to come in looking for
There's
questions.
some things that people have to come in for, but I would think that you probably have, I'm just guessing, maybe 10 people paying a bill for every person coming looking for a handicap thing or a,
Yeah.
that would reduce it a lot. You know, it would take the traffic out of that a lot just by having them pay pay it in a slot with an envelope.
At least give them some protection anyhow.
I mean, that would probably, what would you say, Arsen, that would reduce the lobby traffic by, just on the bill paying itself, just that one part of it?
You know,
Eliminated
you
that.
got the people that wanna come in and pay cash, and you got the people that come in because they want a receipt, and you got the people that come in and pay by credit card or something, and that's,
Get a fishing license.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the bills for now, what percentage of people, of your overall people that come in the building, would that take out like maybe 3/4 of them?
by,
Majority of the people that come in pay bills.
yeah, the majority that come in and pay for it, yeah.
It's
So if
probably-
you
it's
figure out a
probably
way to eliminate
90%.
most of them from coming in, that would go a long ways to reducing
Oh, yeah.
your exposure, right?
I mean, I don't want to see come to that, but I mean, the last 3 days have been just a whirlwind.
Yeah, we gotta be
And
proactive instead of
I'll tell you,
reactive.
Right.
I was at a meeting on Sunday up at school, and I came out of there, and I'll tell you, it's scary.
So that we have some direction, what is the board asking? That we can see if they can put the glass back up and have them pay through the mail slot or online or whatever,
Yeah, I'll have to do some
Have it-
advertising for that, signs in the
have it as
window
an
and
option
and
that
on the
they could do either
website
or?
and stuff.
Yeah.
Let people know they're,
I would say, put a sign up tomorrow, telling,
I'd rather you put your money in the mailbox, in the
Yeah.
box, if
Yeah.
possible.
we are no longer accepting, if you have to, please call us, we can set up something, we'll have the village crew get the wall up tomorrow. And then by Wednesday, we stop letting people in and ask, put it on our website, put the sign on the door, that, just put your payments in the slot. And keep the door locked, and if somebody really needs to get in, then you'll have the glass by tomorrow, and you can let them in. I mean, if
Yeah,
you,
we can try it, I mean,
Yeah. we can try and see what.
Why don't we do that for now, is get the glass back up and see if we can get people, start directing them to moving over to paying in the slot,
Right,
and then we'll review this Thursday
right.
at 4 o'clock. We're having another meeting Thursday at 4 to review the election results and go over the budget, the tentative budget. So,
Could I make a statement about the elections?
yeah,
There's a lot of concern about the elections, and the village does not have the discretion or the authority to cancel or postpone elections. That comes from the governor. So right now, we are having the elections. I've taken a lot of precautionary measures. We're gonna have one-way traffic coming in here, so people will enter the front door and they will exit this door, so that there won't be crossing. We'll have hand sanitizer, wipes, we'll have a lot of pens. The ballot box will be over here, so there's no reason for them to turn around and go back out. They'll exit from here. There's 5 of us, election inspectors this year, so we have an added person who will be able to hopefully go around and sanitize the surfaces as much as possible. I have signs that will be out front about the social distancing, and basically, and I do know that a lot of times this is a social gathering for people, and it's great, because you don't get to see each other, but they'll have to go outside to do that. We can't have people loitering and hanging around for that. So we're doing the very best that we can, and I know that people are concerned, and that was the majority of the phone calls and the concerns for today. But as long as people understand that the village does not have the authority to postpone or cancel elections.
Can we put a sign out there, like no gathering or?
Yep, I have signs
we're
made.
gonna try to have them,
Yeah,
we're gonna try and have them queue up outside the door here and come in 1 or 2 at a time to come to the table to sign in the books, so they're not like 8 or 9 people inside this room
I've
waiting to
talked
sign
to the
in.
rec center, and we're gonna work with them tomorrow and Wednesday morning, about how we're gonna set things up,
It's good.
so, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else?
Almost up.
Okay, need a motion to adjourn?
So the public and anybody else has.
Any from the public wish to say anything? No? Okay, motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It was a very nice presentation.
I'm gonna try for as long as I
Executive
can.
session's gonna change.
Jesus, I guess something happened.
Well, I might have to hand them out the door
No,
one at a
I'll tell you
time.
what, though, if you guys wanna take a quick look at this name thing here. and see
Oh,
what
okay.
that's about.
Yep.
See ya. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Night. Basically. See you next. Take care. Tom, you wanna take a quick look at this, Renee thing real fast here? Oh, yeah. Basically, what we did is, we're in consultation with him back in February to look over the contract